Now you had, what were you saying about, what was your other question? Sorry, pardon?
So I was just mentioning, like, I wonder how this is going to affect the rest of the world now. Whether this is going to cause more corruption in other areas, or whether we're going to see some unity, countries banding together to help, those in need, or what's going to happen to Europe. There are so many questions. There are so many theories that could come from this, right? So many outcomes.
Well, the interesting thing is that under some kind of emergency act, Ukraine and Zelensky have asked for EU membership. Now, that doesn't necessarily give them NATO membership, but certainly does give them the backup of 27 European countries. While Britain might not be one of them because of Nigel Farage and his bloody buses, the Brexit buses, even Britain, even though it's not part of the EU, is going to do what they've got to do, because they are part of NATO.
Yeah. They're not part of the EU anymore, are they?
They're not part of EU, but they are part of NATO. And they're still one of the big 5 on the UN. They're still one of the few that's got its vetoes. It didn't have its veto because it was part of the EU. It had its veto because it was Great Britain. So how that's going to work later, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, they're doing the SWIFT thing with the bank. And what's interesting is Britain's own Tory party is funded by a lot of the oligarchs that they're now busy cutting off financially from Putin, because Putin relies on his oligarchs. He turns around and says, I want this, I want that, I want the next thing, give me your dosh.
Yeah.
And they go, give him a dosh, and he goes out and does things. Same with this war. Same with anything. Now, of course, it's made the ruble tumble. And while financially there's a bunch of finance people out there who know what they're talking about, this is going to affect the people more. And I know this because when they put sanctions on even South Africa or places like Iran, first things that go is your choice on the shelves.
Yeah.
Okay. And Russia has been through lack of choice on the shelves. They've had to queue fund the freaking block just to get a loaf of bread in the last 50 years. Maybe not so much recently in a post-1990s world, but in a post-2022 world, after Putin's just done this, it's very possible.
Yes.
So I don't think any of them want to go back to that. Europe has got a problem is because Russia wanted to be its go-to place for its gas and energies. But, if you've even got the most neutral country in the world, Switzerland, offering to send aid, weapons, and freeze oligarchical bank accounts, you've pissed off the wrong Europeans.
Pretty much. Exactly.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I'm just reminded, and we didn't have half as much. South Africa, they had this kind of thing where we had part IRA bombing in the middle of villages and towns and places, and a border war, which we called the faraway war because it was all on our border. Right. Now, I still have memories of friends getting blown up in that war, fighting communism and the posse. I mean, Russia wasn't there. Russia was pretty much like US is now to Ukraine. It was just sending them weapons, aid, and training them and stuff like that. And it was more terrifying for our guys on the border, and the fact that we needed to check under the wimpy bar tables for our bombs. And that is scary. But these guys, you have got an entire country that is fighting a behemoth.
Pretty much. I saw
it's literally a freaking kraken.
Yeah, pretty much. I saw something on the internet on Facebook actually, and it was really sweet. This was like a little silver lining to what's happening in Ukraine right now, because a lot of people are sort of vacating the areas, corruption and crumbling buildings and all that jazz. And there's like a cat cafe, and they're like, no, we're staying because we love our cats so much, and we know that if we leave, like, we have to, where are they gonna go? Like, they've got about 20 to 30 cats, and they're just like, no, we're staying, we love our cats, we want to take care of them, we're not going anywhere, so they're just gonna stay with their cats. And I'm like, oh God. I'm like, okay, well, hopefully the kitties will be all right. But yeah, it was quite sweet to see.
I think of the fact that you've got Zelensky, a president who's sitting there waiting and fighting with his army and his people and getting more help in and stuff like that. We should take a look at the Afghani president who'd just been put in a place. He ran like a crying straight out of there when the Taliban moved in. But at the same time, you've got a couple of million Afghanis who by rights should be doing what the Ukrainians are trying to do right now. They should be fighting for their country, because the moment the USA goes in, they moan about being the police of the world. We don't want the police of the world. Their own people are dying on the ground, on boots on the ground and stuff like that. And it's unfair that Russia is sending 19-year-olds in equipment.
It's just awful.
19 years old. I mean, as bad as Vietnam, as they said.
Oh my gosh, that's so terrifying. I can't imagine 19 years old and going to war to fight.
Most of them are 19, whatever war you go to. The guys who are on our border, they were 18, 19 years old, went up to the border and they never made it home.
That's awful. That's so, so sad. And you don't really get to think about those scenarios and how unlucky people are in those countries. You know, we're quite blessed in the sense that, we come from England and, we come from, pretty good backgrounds, and now we're living over here in Canada, and you just can't begin to imagine or describe like some of the things you see coming out of those like countries. Even when I catch an Uber and I meet someone from Afghanistan, they like tell me of the corruption over there, and my cousin was shot, and I lost this person. It's just like a normal day for them.
But
it's almost like,
but the thing is the thing that I'm finding most frustrating is the fact that all these people who have been anti-communism and stuff are now praising Russia and Putin. And that makes me sick to my stomach. Apparently being a socialist is a bad thing, or social democracy is a bad thing. But this is okay as far as the freaking conservatives, Republicans, and idiots everywhere go. I say conservatives, even they vary.
That's absolutely bloody awful. The fact that they're even cheering this.
I know.
This slaughter on like children and babies and women and men. Like everyone is getting blown up left, right, and center, or stampeded on, or killed. And as a human race, we're cheering that. We're applauding it. We're saying, well done. Like, what the hell? And that's what I mean. I'm like, what is going on with the world? It's such a dark, dismal place right now with everything going on.
But it's like the truckers that now have cancelled their DC rally. They were supposed to be going off to DC for the union address and everything like that, which is tomorrow. And they couldn't get enough people. I'm thinking, because the rest of the world has suddenly realized just how stupid and ignorant you people look, complaining about your oppression. Because of a global vaccine mandate. And it is global. It is global. It's not just about them. Whereas with Ukraine, they are literally being invaded by a force of 1 million people.
It's I was talking with someone the other day, and we just had to kind of giggle. We just had to kind of like laugh at it and be like, I think they've got their point across. I think they've got their point across. They literally went to Ottawa. They were sitting there all night, honk, 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 yada, yada, yada. I think we get it. I think we get it. And it's just kind of,
I've never been.
It's sad.
And
it's the most comical.
And what about all the COVID patients who are now sitting without any help? I mean, the doctors and the nurses all stayed in Ukraine because they not just having war victims. Oh, food arrived. Ooh.
It's just like, I get that you want to protest, but at the end of the day, like it's selfish to put others at risk. And I just feel terrible for the residents of Ottawa. Can you imagine? You'd have a mental breakdown if you're up there, just like all for the night, all for the day. Like I would go sheer mental. I would go crazy. I'd be like storming out there and